how many wrestlers have died before 50, it says the site's full list of deceased wrestlers numbers more than 2,000, and over 480 of those entries died under the age of 50 among those who have died. Massive superstars.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Do you hear how many that was?
Yeah. So you say over you're saying that over 2,000 have died before 50. And of
Over 2,000 have died, and over 480 of them have died under the age of 50.
under
480 under the age of 50, 2,000 altogether.
all together, I got you now. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
That's some big numbers
and
though.
it goes up,
Right.
every year.
Yeah.
Every year it goes up, because
It's like
people
the
talk.
UFC is a lot that goes on in the UFC that doesn't get, a lot of deaths that take place that don't get reported now. Because these guys weren't big names in the UFC, you wouldn't recognize them, that
Right.
they were attached in one way,
But yeah,
you know.
professional wrestling has the biggest number of deaths
Wow.
out of everybody. So I talk to people, they start naming people because they haven't watched wrestling in a long time, and I'm like, that guy's dead, that guy died, that guy died, that guy. That's how my conversation goes. Because people are like, what about Mr. Perfect? He died. What about Rick Rude? He died. What
Yeah.
about Ultimate Warrior? He died.
Now we
What
talk
about Macho Man?
steroids, all of them steroid abusers. I mean, it was found in their system. They were known to be steroid users. Even some of them who didn't have the body type that you would think, still steroids. I mean, understanding how steroids work.
Adrian Adonis did steroids, and he
Yeah,
had a horrible physique.
yeah.
If you
But
remember Adrian Adonis, he
a lot of
was.
them were more concerned about the potential of the power that they would gain, because you got to think about it. You're lifting a man up daily. That's not easy as people may think. Even though that he's cooperating with you to a degree,
Right.
after time, over and over and over and over again, that has a wear on your body, and you will. I mean, shoot, some people hurt themselves getting out of doggone bed. Ain't never did, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
it can happen. You move the wrong way. So you could imagine the injuries that would, and I know, as a wrestler, you have all kind of little injuries, man, that could take place just rolling around on the mat. Now, those things those are facts. Those are things that really do happen. So most people do look for a better um, way to prepare their body to handle injury or to avoid injury. And now I'm going to want to go back to what Tony Atlas and,
Yeah.
and Bruiser Brody, that death, because that's a death for you guys who don't know about it. We might have been a little lengthy, but you need to pay attention to the details of the story. Bruiser Brody was murdered. That's what he was,
Yes.
murdered.
He was murdered.
The assailants were identified, but because this happened in Puerto Rico, which the assailants, from what the evidence the story provides, the assailants who killed Bruiser Brody, the wrestler, were probably connected to the police in uh, Puerto Rico. And the indicator of that is the slow response to the situation when they were called, not taking it serious, taking him, finally getting him to the hospital, and then other nefarious type of activities supposedly take place.
Yeah.
See, so all of that would to me, if we're in another country, you're in Puerto Rico, the person involved in the stabbing, wasn't he Puerto Rican?
Yeah.
Okay, 1+1 = 2 all over the world. And not only was he Puerto Rican, but he was one of the ones who was either in charge or one of the coordinators of the events, the wrestling events took place in Puerto Rico, right?
Right.
He was somewhat the overseer of the event. These wrestlers will come to Puerto Rico often.
Yeah.
So if he had a beef, which I think it was behind some kind of drugs, possibly. If they had a beef uh, with Bruiser Brody for whatever it is, and they said we're gonna unlife him. What better place to do it? Can't do it in America. When they come here, we in charge of everything. In Puerto Rico, it's different here than it is in America.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Now let's take that opportunity, and they unlife that man. You know.
Yeah.
But the thing is that's disturbing is that the wrestling is, I mean, industry didn't make sure that justice was served.
No, and they all knew about it.
Yeah,
Everybody knows about the Bruiser Brody incident. There's not a wrestler. I mean, a kid could start wrestling today in the company, be 22, and know about Bruiser Brody.
right.
Everybody knows about Bruiser Brody. It was no secret. Everybody knew.
And
Vince
I
knew.
want to salute.
Ted Turner knew.
Yeah, let me salute Tony Atlas. Let me tell you why. Because Tony Atlas was the only one to really come out
That's right.
and tell in detail without any fear.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things they asked Tony Atlas, are you afraid that they may come after you? So, oh, no, I'm not afraid. He told him he wasn't afraid. They knew his ability, but
Yeah.
at the same time, he's a human being. I don't care how strong you are, whatever, when people are plotting against you and catch you at, an uncompromising time, you can be taken advantage of. That's why you always have to watch your surroundings. Always. And my heart goes out to the Brody family because Bruiser Brody thought he was talking to some friends.
Yes, he did.
Because they greeted him as friends.
Yeah.
Oh, calling him brother and all that. Oh, come on, brother, we want to talk to you about something. Lure him into the shower. These are open showers. These are athletes. Lured him into the shower and then, you know, continue or not attempt, but go through with an assault on him.
Yeah.
Cost him his life. It's a brutal story, man. And the more I often think about that story, and many other wrestlers who were there, they all know who did it.
Oh, yeah, they knew.
How can that go
Because
unchecked?
Tony said he was asking for help and nobody came.
Yeah.
He said nobody came to the hospital with him. Nobody helped. Nobody held anybody back. It was like when the Sheik was wrestling, the
Mhm.
Sheik was like, "Hey, this is messed up. Let's go home." Afonseca helped Tony Atlas. The Sheik was there to help. Savio Vega. You know,
Vega and salute to Vega. Vega got him out of the country.
yeah, Vega got him out,
Another
and
thing.
Afonseca backed him on the street. To get him to the police station.
I mean, see that you have to always applaud when the heroes show up. Some people tend to make the villains the heroes, but not no. The villains are just that, the villains. The heroes
Yeah,
are the ones who try to help. They try to do everything to help the situation, to prevent catastrophe. And they have the bravery to speak on it. That's why I have to salute Tony Atlas. Because
absolutely.
whatever the threat was, what was his name? Cologne, the Cologne guy?
Carlos Colon and Jose Gonzalez, also known as
Whatever
Invader.
power they had in Puerto Rico, right? Tony Atlas stood against it. Wait a minute, that's wrong. That was my
Yeah,
friend. That was my friend. We came through the ranks together. We in this business together. We became friends, and it's such a touching story. And I advise anyone to go check out a documentary on it. Bruiser Brody, the unlife, or you'll see or hear the story about Bruiser Brody, and how his life was taken, and the circumstances
absolutely.
surrounding it, and the role Tony Atlas, who was another wrestler, uh, iconic wrestler, the role he took. And by taking that role, he put himself in danger and jeopardy. That's what a hero does. That's a hero. None
That's
of
right.
the guys are heroes. I don't care if it was your favorite wrestler, Abdullah the Butcher, whoever. If they sat there and looked and didn't say nothing and turned a blind eye, then they're cowards. They are
Yeah,
not heroes. No. Never make someone a hero out to be a hero who doesn't have the wherewithal to stand up for what is right. Never make someone a hero who sees someone being taken advantage of and do nothing. Nothing. No, you're not a hero. So that means when you see something going on, you take out your phone and you're recording chaos and you're laughing and clowning like it's okay because you go post it and how many people go look at your post? No. That's not the move of a hero. You are not a hero.
Yeah.
So let's continue moving on that one. You got some more closing remarks because we've been going for a little while. We're gonna get ready to close it up. What you got?
Well, I got a couple people I want to touch on. Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they talk about the murder thing about his girlfriend, Argento, Nancy Argento. What happened with her was that when he would drink, he would get crazy.
Right.
And the legendary Buddy Rogers, who's the number one most popular original uh, first superstar professional wrestling going back to the 40s, even a little bit earlier than that. Buddy Rogers was the original Nature Boy before Ric Flair took the name. And he
Oh,
was also the guy that Sweet Daddy Zeke was supposed to become the first black heavyweight champion and beat Buddy Rogers for the belt. But the Klan showed up to
what?
the place and he and Buddy Rogers were panicking. Buddy Rogers was like, look, I'm going to have to beat you and we're going to have to get you out of here because they're not going to let you win, this whole fight. Like, it's going to be a mess. Yeah. So Buddy Rogers was in charge of keeping Superfly together. But when he would drink, he would get crazy, you know, and he had beat her to a pulp. I mean, that's what Buddy Rogers and his wife both said. She would come over, Nancy would come over, she'd be all face would be all busted up because he would go that crazy. But apparently pushed her, which I think he smacked her, and her head, she fell and she hit some level, concrete or something, and it ended up killing her.
Mm-hmm.
But Superfly hit it and said like, oh, she went took a nap and should be fine, but then her breathing got weird, so he had to call the paramedics. But he waited too long. He didn't think anything about it because he was just beating. He was beating her. He also fought the police too. He was one of those guys that has strength
Well,
times a million. He also naked. I think he was naked. And he
oh,
went head to head with the,
did they shoot him?
no, they didn't shoot him, but
Think about different situation. Okay.
he put some hands on people. But anyway, real quick, guys, it has been since Snuka's been gone. He was a favorite of mine. I always liked Superfly. Who didn't? He was the original superstar before Hulk Hogan came in. Like, they had made him the center focus, so it was a big thing. And he looked like he was flying. He glided when he would, go off the top rope and off the cage. He would do he would look like he was just. And apparently, he used to train off the cliffs of Hawaii, where he's from, doing that somewhere. So he was freak of nature.
Yeah.
But Superfly, smacked his girlfriend and cost it and cost her life. But the other thing I want to point out to you guys is where he was at the police station where they were holding him. Vince McMahon went down there with the briefcase and came out with Superfly and no briefcase, which means
Right.
somebody got paid.
Yeah. Somebody
Okay,
got.
so we want to talk about Vince McMahon.
Somebody
So I'm
pawned.
gonna try to. Yeah, I'm gonna go through. Gina Hernandez was another guy. He was at World Class Wrestling. He was started with Tully Blanchard, who was one of the original Four Horsemen, and he was being looked at as a Four Horseman. He would have been perfect. He was hated. I mean, this dude was hated, and he had that kind of wrestling bad guy heat. But he had gotten involved with a lot of mafia guys and cocaine, and they found him. Looks like he had been dead for 3 days, decomposing. But in his system, in his mouth, I should say, his digestive system was cocaine. Now, you and I both know if he had overdosed on cocaine, it would have been from the nose because that guy's been doing cocaine. They talked about how he had big things and so he knew how to do it. How the heck did it get in his mouth? And how did that much? It was like pounds of it was inside of his system. Somebody put it down his throat.
Yeah.
And then he had a mobster pay for his funeral, which was weird. Very strange.
Organized crime did get involved in that.
But on a plus note,
Mm-hmm.
they did pose his body with his favorite expensive American Express Platinum member credit card like this in his hand.
Man, go ahead, man. Come on.